It's a quiet moment at the end of a long day. You're on the couch, and your dog is curled up at your feet, and then you hear it, a long, deep sigh. Your heart melts a little. You think, oh, are you sad? Are you bored? We immediately project our own human emotions onto that sound, interpreting it as melancholy or disappointment. But what if that sigh isn't sadness? What if it's a complex piece of communication you've been misinterpreting their entire life? That single puff of air is one of the most important and most misunderstood punctuation marks in the canine emotional language. And today, we're going to translate it. Because this quietest of sounds actually tells one of two very different stories about what's happening inside your dog's mind. First, we need to stop thinking of a sigh as just a sigh. In the world of dogs, a sigh is a signal of transition. It's the sound a dog makes when it's closing one emotional chapter and starting another. It's their way of audibly marking a change in their internal state, often from a state of mild arousal or anticipation to a state of rest. It's a physiological reset button. But is it a happy reset or a disappointed one? The answer depends entirely on the context and on one or two tiny body language cues that are incredibly easy to miss. Let's start with the sigh that every dog owner loves to hear. This is the contentment sigh. This is the sigh that says, all is right with the world. It almost always happens after a positive event has just concluded. Think about it. Your dog has just finished a delicious dinner, licked the bowl clean for the 10th time, and has waddled over to their favorite bed. They circle once, twice, and then they collapse into a comfortable pile. And then you hear it. A long, slow exhale as their body goes completely limp. That is a contentment sigh. Or maybe you've just come back from an amazing hour-long walk or a fun play session at the park. Your dog is tired, but it's a good kind of tired. They lay down on the cool floor, their muscles relax, and they let out that deep, satisfying sigh. They are telling you, that was wonderful. I am now officially off duty. The key to identifying the contentment sigh is to look at their body language immediately before and during the sigh. The body is loose and relaxed, like a sack of potatoes. There's no tension in their shoulders or their jaw. Most importantly, look at their eyes. With a contentment sigh, their eyes will either be half closed in a sleepy, blissful state, or they will close completely as the sigh is released. This is the most critical clue. Closing their eyes is a sign of trust and relaxation. They are ending a period of positive stimulation and willingly transitioning into a state of calm. It's the final, peaceful exhalation after a good experience. It's a beautiful, clear signal that you have fulfilled their needs and they feel safe, secure, and completely satisfied in that moment. It's a nonverbal thank you for the fun they just had. But there is another sigh. A sigh that sounds almost identical, yet carries a completely opposite meaning. And if you mistake it for contentment, you're missing a vital message your dog is trying to send you. This is the disappointment sigh. This is the sigh of resignation. It's the sound of a dog giving up on something it wanted. This sigh doesn't signal the end of a positive event, but rather the end of hope for a positive event that never happened. The context here is, once again, everything. Let's paint a picture. You're eating dinner, and your dog is sitting politely by your chair, giving you their very best, I'm starving eyes. They watch every single bite you take, their hopes rising. You finish your meal, stand up, and take your plate to the kitchen. Your dog watches you go, their dream of getting a fallen scrap of food vanishing. They then lay their head down on their paws and let out a huffy, audible sigh. That wasn't contentment. That was the sound of them accepting defeat. They were telling you, okay, I guess I'm not getting any. It was worth a try. The biggest physical difference is in the eyes. With the disappointment sigh, your dog's eyes are almost always wide open. They sigh, and then continue to watch you or the object of their desire. They are not transitioning to sleep. They are acknowledging that the game is over, but their mind is still on what they wanted. They haven't shut down. They've just been let down. You might see this when you pick up your keys but then put them back down, or when you put on your shoes only to take them off again without going for a walk. But here is where it gets truly complicated. What about those quiet moments? The ones that feel just like the contentment scenario. You're petting your dog, rubbing their ears. They are relaxed, leaning into your touch. Then you stop. You check your phone or grab a drink. Your dog waits a moment, then lets out a soft sigh as they lay their head down. You smile, thinking, he's so relaxed. But you might be wrong. That sigh, in that exact context, was very likely a tiny puff of disappointment, a quiet protest. They weren't done with the affection. They were hoping for more, and your stopping was the end of that hope. It's a subtle but profound difference. One is a sigh of fulfillment. The other is a sigh of unfulfillment. But how can you be absolutely sure? What if the eyes are hard to read? What if the body language seems identical? There is one final, almost invisible clue that separates these two opposite emotions, a signal that over 95% of owners miss entirely. It's not in their posture, and it's not in the sound itself. The secret is hidden in their breath. Not the sigh itself, but the very first breath they take immediately after the sigh. With true contentment, the sigh is a full release of air, and the following inhale is slow, deep, and quiet as they drift further into relaxation. But with a sigh of disappointment or resignation, the sigh is often followed by a short, sharp, almost silent intake of breath through the nose. It's a reset breath, a "what's next" breath. They've accepted defeat on one thing, and their body is already preparing to focus on the next opportunity. It's a micro-expression, over in less than a second, but it's the most reliable tell there is. But what if I told you there's a third sigh? A sigh that is far more complex and far more common than you could ever imagine. A sigh that your dog is using on you, right now, probably without you even realizing it. This isn't about contentment or disappointment. This is about manipulation. This is the transactional sigh. Have you ever been in this situation? You're working from home, and your dog comes over and puts its head on your lap. You pet them for a few minutes, then you stop to type an email. Your dog waits, and then lets out a long, dramatic sigh. You immediately feel a pang of guilt. You think, oh, they're disappointed. They wanted more pets. So what do? You start petting them again. And in that moment, your dog has learned a powerful lesson. They have learned that sighing gets them what they want. The transactional sing is a learned behavior. It's not a genuine, involuntary expression of an internal emotional state. It's a tool. Your dog is intelligent. It learns through cause and effect. If it sighs, and the effect is that you cave in and give it that piece of cheese, or you stop working to play with it, it will start using that sigh as a button that controls you. So how can you tell the difference? How do you know if your dog is genuinely communicating a feeling of letdown, or if you're just being played by a furry, four-legged genius? The answer is terrifyingly simple. You can't. Not at first. Because the physical tells are identical. The true nature of the sigh is not revealed in the moment, but in the pattern. You have to become a detective in your own home. You have to ask yourself one critical question. What happens after I respond to the sigh? If your response consistently stops the sighing, then you are being played. But what if I told you that you're not the one being tricked? What if, in fact, you are the one being managed? This isn't just about getting a reward. This is about emotional control. We have to go deeper. Dogs are not just observers of our lives. They are masters of emotional contagion. They can literally smell the changes in your body chemistry when you're stressed. The cortisol, the adrenaline, to them, it's like a foul odor that signals instability and danger. An unpredictable, anxious human is a threat to a dog's stable world. So what does a brilliant strategist do when faced with an unstable ally? They learn to pacify them. This brings us to the fourth and most psychologically complex sigh of all, the emotional pacifier. Your dog has learned that a specific sound, a long, dramatic, almost pitiable sigh, is a magic button. It makes you stop your frantic, stressful behavior. You stop pacing. You stop staring at that glowing screen that makes you tense. You turn to them, and in doing so, your heart rate slows, your breathing deepens, and you perform a soothing, predictable action. You pet them. That sigh was never about them. It was a prescription for you. They are not saying, "I'm bored, entertain me." They are saying, "Your anxiety is leaking all over the room and it's freaking me out. Please initiate the calming protocol so that order can be restored." It is one of the most brilliant, subtle, and widespread forms of interspecies emotional management happening on the planet. But if they've learned to do this, what happens when we misinterpret it? What happens when we respond to their pacification attempt with the wrong emotion? This is where things can go terribly, terribly wrong. When your dog attempts to deploy the emotional pacifier, and you respond with a wave of guilt or frantic apology, you have accidentally sabotaged the mission. You're feeding the very anxiety they are trying to fix. They offer you a sophisticated tool for de-escalation, and you respond by flooding the system with more of the emotional static they were trying to eliminate. This is the great tragedy of miscommunication. The dog pushes the calm down button, but the wiring is crossed. Instead, it activates the panic button in you. The dog, sensing its strategy has failed and only made things worse, may sigh again, this time with genuine frustration. A cycle of anxiety is born. all from one misunderstood breath. And this silent language is so much bigger than just a sigh. It's in every gesture, every glance, every subtle shift of weight. We spend so much time trying to teach them our language, sit, stay, roll over, that we forget they are constantly, patiently, trying to teach us theirs. We think we are the masters, the trainers, the providers, but what if we've had it backwards? What if, for 10,000 years, we haven't just been domesticating dogs, they have been domesticating us. They have been selectively breeding emotional stability in their human companions, using tools like the sigh to manage our chaotic inner worlds. So the next time you hear that long, dramatic sigh from the corner of the room, pause. Don't just react. Listen. Ask yourself, what is the state of this house right now? What is the state of me? Is this a request for a treat? Or is it a reminder to breathe? The sigh, in all its forms, is a mirror. It's not just an expression of their world, it is a reflection of ours. And understanding it is the key to unlocking a deeper, more profound partnership than you ever thought possible. They don't just want your attention, they want your peace. The world is full of these hidden languages, unspoken dialogues happening all around us. If you want to learn how to listen, to decode the secret lives of the animals we share this planet with, then subscribe to Canis, because the conversation is already happening. It's time